audible? Can you hear me? So, shall we start the class? Okay, everything okay? All right, very good evening everyone. I hope you all are keeping safe during this pandemic, and your new faculty is now in your class. Right, you have another species as part of this classroom ecosystem. So a new species is coming to teach you the subject of environment ecology, right? Although we all belong to the same species, Homo sapiens sapiens, modern man. But the topic is that I have to go into various aspects on that. So that's what I've used the word species for myself there, right? You all are unique in your own ways. So dear students, we are going to start environment and ecology. Myself Neeraj Nachiketa, who will be teaching you environment subject, and today we are having the first class on that. Now I don't have to tell you the importance of the subject. You all have joined Vision IAS classroom program. You have gone to the previous year question papers. You are aware what is the nature of the question paper and the way the subject is being dealt. This subject is a subject which requires a very dynamic approach to study, to remember facts, and again solve the question there. So what I would like to bring here, that the subject of environment ecology from UPSC point of view, from both prelims exam and the main exam perspective, you have two areas are there. One is the static area, static part, right? The static part comes into that. That is basically a theory. That is a part of the theory part which you have to be aware of that, right? Second, what comes to the dynamic part. Dynamic part of the subject. Now this is the application part, right? How you apply the subject of environment ecology in terms of conservation of wild animals. Let's say tiger or elephant or one-horned rhinoceros, right? We come across several names of birds, of mammals, reptiles in newspaper, in the current aspect, and there are several government programs for conservation and management of threatened species there. Right? Today we are facing the burning problem regarding environmental pollution, air pollution, water pollution, land pollution are now the pressing problems in modern times. Because of the overpopulation, then uncontrolled, unregulated urbanization, industrialization, right? The mankind, the human civilization, the way we are polluting the environment, the way we are degrading our natural resources, the way we are, destroying the habitats of wild animals, right? These all have caused severe environmental problems in today's time. So how you understand such kind of environmental topics and you are sensitive towards it. UPSC exam, in civil service exam, as an administrator, that as a part of the government machinery, today you have to implement number of government programs and you have to be sensitive enough for the environment. Whether it is at the rural level or at the urban level, or when you look into the part of district development, or in terms of fighting poverty, right, leading to the employment, all those things what comes from social economic perspective, environment is linked with that. That's what I said is a dynamic part, the application. How do we apply the theory into our own day-to-day life? How we are going to implement government programs, right, in such a way that there is a sustainable development. Right, these are now the questions which are being asked, right? So you have to connect. This has to be connected. It has to be connected together, right? Now this subject is another subject where you have to be aware of the three very important areas which I would like to bring here in the classroom. One is that you have to be aware of the current development, current aspect. When you read newspaper, when you read magazine, right, whatever you come across in current aspect, the Hindu newspaper or let's say the Indian Express, Vision IAS provides you monthly current affairs, right? Whatever development comes from current perspective, right? IUCN Red Data Book of certain species, critically endangered, vulnerable, right? Pollution aspect which you come across, electronic waste, e-waste generation in India, biomedical waste, now the COVID-19, the current pandemic, right? The current pandemic is an eye-opening for everyone, right? And this pandemic, COVID-19, right, is a lesson for the human being that the development, the way we are doing, the way we are getting near to animals, right, pangolin or bats or any such wild animals which are reservoirs of deadly viruses, and then human animal contact where such kind of deadly virus can spread from animals to humans, right, and then can cause such kind of global pandemic. It's a lesson which human beings, right, came to realize based on this COVID-19 pandemic. So environment, that's what said, I have said is very, very important. And here, what is very important about the current aspect is that you have a multi-dimensional aspect, right? You don't have to study environment ecology in silos, right? It's a multi-dimensional topic where every areas of general studies, whether you talk about history, culture, economy, geography, polity, governance, every aspect of your general studies will come to the subject of environment and ecology. You have to relate every aspect of environment ecology syllabus with the other areas of general studies. You have to connect with that. You have to relate with that. That's what this subject is, multi-dimensional. Every area of scientific discipline, right, will be linked with environment ecology. My work, my task as a teacher, as a person who teach you the subject is to link with various dimensions, right? And it is very, very important for both prelims exam at the same time the main examination, right? So one aspect which comes the current aspect. Second, what comes here, that is the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MUFCCs, right? Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the central government ministry, right? What you come across in the PIB, Press Information Bureau, PIB update, right? Or when you read any aspect of the annual report of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, right? You will come across government schemes, government programs are there, right? Recently, Government of India has started with Project Dolphin. You all are aware, national aquatic animal, right, Gangetic dolphin. And for the conservation and management of dolphins in India, the Government of India started with the Project Dolphin, right? Government of India wants to bring cheetah, that fastest this land mammal from Namibia, from Africa to India. Supreme Court has already allowed the central government to reintroduce cheetah in India, right? Again, the current aspect. There was earlier proposal by the central government to relocate Asiatic lion from Gir National Park in Gujarat to Kuno Palpur in Madhya Pradesh, right? It's still under, the decision is still pending. The Asiatic lion, where the numbers have increased, and is the lion species, right, which is only found in India, nowhere else, Asiatic lion. Right now, relocation of Asiatic lion to the central part of the country, Madhya Pradesh, MP, Kuno Palpur, is still government is considering that. At the same time, reintroduction of cheetah, from African cheetah from Africa to India, right? The Supreme Court has given the green signal to that. NTCA, National Tiger Conservation Authority, right? 2006, NTCA was set up by amending the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, WPA 1972, which is a major law in the country in terms of protection of wildlife in India. And then the amendment in the year 2006, NTCA was set up. National Tiger Conservation Authority was set up by the government, right? NTCA deals with the tiger conservation and the declaration of tiger reserves in India. Same statutory body, NTCA, has been now tasked for proper implementation of cheetah reintroduction in India. African cheetah to India, the reintroduction part has been now will be carried by NTCA. NTCA, then Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, WCCB, National Board for Wildlife, Central Zoo Authority. These all are statutory bodies which are formed under the law, and they all work under MOFCC. Right? It comes under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. We have many scientific autonomous organizations such as Zoological Survey of India, ZSI, Botanical Survey of India, BSI, Wildlife Institute of India, WII. Again, it comes under MOFCC. So whatever the central government, the programs, policies, initiatives are all important for the exam, right? They all are very, very important for the examination. So you have to connect the current development, current aspect, and then Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, part of it you have to connect from that part. At the same time, the third aspect which I am writing here is that you have to know the syllabus. You have to connect the concepts. All those concepts and theory part which is a part of syllabus, biodiversity, climate change, pollution, right, all these areas. You have to connect with the current aspect with this part, you have to connect with the government programs and all, and the government program will be connected with the current syllabus there. These all are interconnected. Questions will not be only standalone. There are certain questions which will be direct, right? Or there will be certain questions which will have different components there. Now if you see over the last, if we analyze the paper here, analysis of a prelims exam, if you take the prelims exam, right, from 2011 when the new pattern of the exam was brought, if you just simply analyze this trend and see what are the important topics where UPSC is asking questions. So let me list down the topics here. UPSC is continuously in the examination asking questions from following topics. You will find one is the threatened species. This is one of the very important topic of the examination. 2020 prelims exam itself, you have a question regarding the musk deer, Kasturi Mirg or musk deer, Barasingha, swamp deer, right? You have so many questions there, right? Elephant, tiger. India is full of biodiversity. India is a biodiversity rich country, right? So what is the first area which you will find continuously in UPSC exam? The question is from the threatened species, right? That is where the question is being asked. And the red data book, IUCN red data book. Again, you have to connect from the current aspect. You have to link with the current aspect from the topic's point of view, right? Then what comes here? The second aspect which you need to be aware, that is the protected areas network. Conservation part of it. We have entire list of protected areas in the country. Let's say wildlife sanctuary, bird sanctuary, national parks, biosphere reserves, right? Community reserve, right? Protected forest, right? Important bird areas, IBAs, right? MPA, marine protected areas, MPAs. We have so many measures by which we have declared the protected areas. So in terms of conservation here, in terms of conservation and management of biodiversity and wildlife, right, there in situ conservation, ex situ conservation, even the botanical garden, zoological parks and all those kind of ex situ areas, they are also very, very important for the exam, right? So here conservation management, right, is in this case in situ and ex situ conservation, right? Government programs there, right? All the government programs what comes here, all the projects and programs, right? This all becomes very, very important there. Right? All the acts, all the acts, government act, programs and all, this all becomes very, very important, right? Now when it comes to the part of the topics which I am listing here, right, UPSC has asked continuous question in all such areas. You'll find the continuous questions have been asked, right? And biodiversity part, this part becomes very, very important. Then you will find questions on the climate change, global warming and climate change. Global warming and climate change topic is again a very important topic which you will find at least 2 or 3 questions are asked in the examination, right? UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Then you have a topic from, let's say, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, Carbon Market Mechanism, India's National Action Plan on Climate Change, right? NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution, International Solar Alliance. So many topics are there in terms of global warming and climate change. You will find that. Then in terms of pollution aspect, you will find air pollution, water pollution, right? Even the current government programs, AQI, Air Quality Index, Namami Gange. Then we have a waste management rules, all the acts you have to be aware of, environmental laws, that whatever the legislation we have, acts, policies, rules, there are sometimes Environment Protection Act, under this central government has notified rules for e-waste management, biomedical waste management, solid waste management, right? You will find the questions with respect to the biogeography part of it. If I bring about this one, protected areas, you will find river, then hills, biogeographic areas, right? Geography linked with the biological part, ecological part, biodiversity hotspots, rivers, lakes, wetlands, wetland conservation. Then what comes at the international level? You will come across the areas from conventions. There are different conventions, protocols and agreements which are at the international level where the government of India is a party to that. Let's say for example in biodiversity, CBD, Convention of Biological Diversity, where there are 2 important protocols. One is Cartagena Protocol on biological safety, biosafety. Second is the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing, right? Climate change, UNFCCC, Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol. Desertification, UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Wetland conservation, Ramsar, Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, Ramsar, right? All these conventions on different areas of environment becomes very, very important for the questions in the exam. And UPSC can ask you any question, right? Regarding the COP also, Conference of Parties, COP decisions. Like last year, GIB was asked, Desert National Park in Rajasthan and the Great Indian Bustard, the arid area, the bird, the GIB bird, critically endangered bird which is called Godawan, is a state bird of Rajasthan. Barmer and Jaisalmer you have a desert national park. The question can be variety of them. It is not a very specific that you will read this one only, the question will come there. I'll give you the sources to refer, but this is where you have the entire aspect of the question which you come across there, right? Main examination, if you look at the topic from mains perspective, right? If you look at the main examination, environment ecology topic will come into GS3 paper. GS3 paper main examination, you have topics from environment ecology. Now what is given here in the main examination? In the main examination you will find here, one area comes from here, that is the natural resources, degradation of natural resources and pollution, right? You have environmental pollution topic there. Then you have a conservation topic, biodiversity conservation or conservation of forest, wetland, different types of natural resources. You have a topic in the main examination. Around 2 to 3 questions you will find in the main exam are based on environmental aspect. Then you have a very important topic in the main examination, EIA, environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment, right? Major projects, mining, hydropower project, thermal power plant, nuclear power plant, infrastructure projects, we need to carry out EIA, environmental impacts assessment under EIA rules. We have a EIA rules notified under the Environment Protection Act 1986, EPA 1986. The last rule is 2006. Now the central government has come out with a new draft. There is now new draft of EIA rules 2020, right, prepared by the central government, which would change the earlier rules. Earlier rules, what we follow right now on EIA, that is the 2006. Now government want to bring change into that. It was asked in the main exam, EIA part. So GS 3 paper, you have 2 to 3 subjective questions, 150 words or 250 words, which you have to write on the environmental aspect. You have to come across and you have to write in the environmental perspective there. Pre-exam, you are getting factual question, national parks, sanctuaries and all this, threatened species, right, conventions, protocols, agreements, legal act like scheduled species, schedule 126 of Wildlife Protection Act, right, habitat protection. You also have in prelims exam, but 2011 and 13, up to 2011 to 13, you will find there have been several questions on ecology aspect, ecological concept. So let me write there also that ecological concept there. Now it has not been very important. Now these ecological concepts are not very important, but UPSC has asked question. UPSC has asked questions in the examination on the ecological concept, the principles there. Ecosystem, food chain, food web, pyramid. If you see the previous year exam question, 2011 till 2014, you will find such questions are asked. Now UPSC have diverted. UPSC exam is an uncertain exam. And given the fact environment ecology, it is not a kind of a question which will be only static. It will be mixed with the current aspect, government programs, lot of things will come. Now in UPSC exam, ecological concepts are not much asked. But yes, you have to study. You have to be aware of the theory part, you have to be aware of the syllabus part. We will discuss that ecological concept, we will cover in the classroom. But again the questions are there, food chain, right, carbon cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle, again linking with pollution aspect, climate change part, ozone depletion, ozone layer, right, photochemical smog, all these have been asked in the exam, linking with the theory part, right. So this is very, very important, which you have to always keep in mind. Now sources to refer, right, whatever sources, what sources you have to follow for the preparation of the exam. Now let me come across the sources which you have to follow, right. The sources which you have to follow is the following there. I'll just clean the whiteboard. So to prepare this exam, what all source you need to follow? These are the sources to follow. Let me write the, I don't know how many of you are going to appear in this coming exam. Since you all are the new batch, this is the batch for 2022 exam. You have a more than 1 year time, right? You all have got more than 1 year's time for preparation of the examination, because most of you are going to appear in 2022. That's what you have joined in this particular batch, right? So your target is 2022 exam, and you will get to again see the questions in the June month, 27 June, when the 2021 exam will be conducted by the UPSC. You will get more idea about the trend of the questions asked in environment ecology. But since all of you have been preparing for next year 2022 exam, you have sufficient time to read and prepare for this exam. So what I would like to bring here in terms of sources to refer. For preparation of the examination, what source you have to follow? The first part is the syllabus part. So from the syllabus point of view, right, to cover the syllabus, all the theory part, all the part of the, you have to follow the Vision IAS. Vision IAS has prepared the content there. Vision IAS, you have a classroom study material. Now this classroom study material has been divided into three parts. You have part 1, then you have part 2 and part 3. Is the most updated. Is the most updated and revised material. Part 1, part 2, part 3 of Vision IS study material. You don't require any textbook. No need to follow any textbook. You don't have to follow any textbook. If you have any textbook, you can keep it aside. For time being, you don't have to follow that. NCERT, when you talk about NCERT, right? NCERT, in NCERT book, in NCERT class 12th biology, you have the last unit, chapter 3, 4 chapters are chapter 13, 14 and 15, 16. Now this has been added to the syllabus. Even you don't have to read the NCERT book. The 4 chapters which are the part of the NCERT textbook of biology, the last unit, unit 10. If you follow the Vision IS material, the current material part 1, part 2, part 3 have been very comprehensively covering the NCERT books. But those of you who want to read, right, you are free to read that. Right? You have time because since you are going to appear in 2022, you have time. So please go through the NCERT book. But this content from the NCERT has been filtered and is given in the Vision IS study material. Right? Now the next what comes here is another content which comes NIOS. NIOS, you have an environment module. Right? You have an environment module. Now this is also has been added to the Vision IS study material. Again, you don't have to read NIOS study material or IGNOU or UGC NET, any kind of a textbook. You don't require. Part 1, part 2, part 3 study materials on environment will be given to you by the Vision IS management, and I consider sufficient. That is sufficient for the preparation of the exam. Right? So this is sufficient part of it. It covers the entire syllabus. Now what is second part? Second is your Vision IS current affairs magazine, Vision IS monthly current affairs. Monthly current affairs, right? You have all the current aspect. Right? You have a current aspect on that. So whatever covers in the monthly current affairs magazine, right, over the last 1 year, plus the class, you have a teacher who teach you the monthly current affairs. I, as a teacher, will teach you the basic theory part, the syllabus part of it. Correct? The monthly current affairs classes are being conducted by other faculty. I will not teach there. The detailed current aspect is covered by other faculty which you have been going through, right? You have a monthly current affairs magazine and the classes for that. Right? So whoever takes that monthly current affairs class, please attend the class of the monthly current affairs. Please go through the weekly current affairs, daily current affairs, monthly current affairs provided by Vision IS. Then you have third source which I am writing here, that is a Vision IS before the prelims exam gives you PT 365. PT 365 is a very important document which covers the entire 1 year of current aspect on environment ecology, and it covers from various sources. If you are following the monthly current affairs magazine plus Vision IS PT 365, it will cover you broad aspect from the current perspective. And then you have a, for main examination you have mains 365, right? You have a document and the classes for that, right? So for UPSC preparation, whenever you have time, like for example the Hindu newspaper, right? Indian Express. Then there is a magazine called as a Down to Earth. Down to Earth magazine, that is published by Center for Science and Environment. all those current aspects, there's all this current aspect, whatever comes in the Geography and You, Down to Earth, Indian Express, the Hindu paper, whatever the news comes into that. Right? As you keep on preparing, you please read that. But again, you will have a compilation in the monthly current affairs, this one. There will be compilation on that. But I will request all of you to read newspaper. Newspaper becomes a very important source. I'll demonstrate that part. Then PIB, Press Information Bureau, PIB updates, Yojana, Kurukshetra, India Yearbook. All of you are following that. It's not that I am something, telling you something new in the classroom. No, you have been doing that. I'm not bringing something new in the classroom. You have been all following this kind of sources, Yojana, Kurukshetra, magazines and India Yearbook and all. You are aware of it. PIB and all, you are aware of it. Right? I'm just trying to bring again in the classroom that your efforts should be relevant effort. It should not be something that you're reading and then getting lost. Right? Let's say, for example, if you have to learn any kind of hobby, or if you have a hobby there, and when you have to start, let's say we want to go for swimming. So if you want to go for swimming, you will not jump into Bay of Bengal, right? Will you jump in the Bay of Bengal or Arabian Sea? That depends on where your native place is there. Whether Tamil Nadu and Kerala, will you jump in the Bay of Bengal or Arabian Sea? That will be suicidal, right? So where you will start from? A baby swimming pool. A small baby swimming pool in your society, in your gated apartment. Then you go to the bigger swimming pool. Once you master that art of swimming in the swimming pool, then you will jump into a lake, right, river, and then you will think of jumping into the ocean. But in the first time you jump in the ocean, you are bound to drown. UPSC exam is like that. You have to go stepwise, sequential, one by one. Right? You have to go into that way. It's not that it should not happen that all of a sudden you have taken a book. I'll not name the book, and then you are lost. Right? You are lost. You are not able to either master the concept, the theory part, nor the application part, nor the current part. You are lost. That's what I am making very clearly in the first class itself. This subject is a very simple subject, but at the same time it is a very difficult subject, very challenging subject. If you do not prepare according to a better strategy, it will be very difficult for you to solve questions of environment in the examination. That's what I've said. You have to go stepwise. Don't read hundreds of books. Don't read hundreds of materials and the websites and all this. I will tell you what websites you have to visit. Right? In my class, whatever topics I will deal in the classroom. Right? And wherever the relevant websites are there, I will be opening in the classroom, demonstrating you live in the classroom what to read, what not to read. So don't worry about the websites, right? You are getting enough of support from Vision IAS management. You are getting enough of the study materials. You are getting mini tests and test series, right? Current aspect. You are getting a lot of things from Vision IAS. First, try to master that. If you master that, then there comes the next level, right? So, since you all are beginner, right? You are now starting with the subject. So you have to go in a very slow manner, but in a better manner. You have to understand the subject and learn every aspect of the subject in terms of qualifying the examination. And I'll tell you that environment as a subject is not only UPSC civil service exam. This subject is also very relevant for other competitive exams, other state PCS exams. If you are also appearing in state level exams, UP PCS or RAS or MPSC or any kind of state level exam, Again, this subject will be, there will be questions there. In the prelims exam, 10 to 12 questions are being asked from environment ecology. You will again get the question from the environment ecology. So there are multiple sources are there. It's not a one source or two source. How you go about it, how do you read that? That is the most important one. But I will guide you. I will guide you in that. Today is the first class. I am just giving you the kind of understanding. I am just giving you a kind of overview. But how to go about it, how to prepare, I will guide you in the classroom there. How to work on the, you will be guided by me. But again I am saying that current affairs materials, monthly current affairs and all, you have to again read there. You have to follow that one. Let's say for example, if I just demonstrate there. Let's say for example, the Hindu, let me bring about that. Let's say for example, I am coming to some kind of demonstration part. Let me take certain sample, right? Let's say for example, I am opening here the Hindu. Simply if you go to the Hindu environment, right? I'm just, it will come to your screen. You'll be able to see on your screen and I'll demonstrate with examples. Let's say the Hindu environment. Now based on the syllabus, you have to filter out based on the syllabus. There are a lot of things are there in the current aspect. Everything you cannot read, right? Everything you cannot read. So you have to connect from the syllabus to the current aspect, right? There is a Hindu environment news, right? How do you filter? How do you filter that? How do you read that, right? You have to develop this art. There is a completely art to develop that. Like for example, in terms of here, for example, now look at here. You have like a environment part here. You'll come across, now look at here, Dal Lake among several others in Jammu and Kashmir to be declared protected wetlands. So what you have found in the keyword wetlands. So what comes the first thing? What is a wetland? What are types of wetlands? How wetlands are important for human beings and the environment? What are threats to wetlands? Right? What is Ramsar Convention? What are the objectives of Ramsar Convention? What are Ramsar sites? Which are Ramsar sites in India? This is the sequence. Unfortunately, I found most of the students, they do the reverse. Most of the students go reverse. They will first read the current aspect. They will have a very poor understanding about concept of wetlands, examples of wetlands. They may not be knowing completely the Ramsar Convention. What are the criteria on which Ramsar sites are declared? But they will read all the current aspect. And I am very sure that in your batch, there will be several students doing this kind of preparation. So what I am giving you a way out. What is the way out? When you take newspaper and you come across any article, you first select the keywords and then ask yourself, do you know what is a wetland? What are the examples of wetlands? Then you connect Dal Lake in Kashmir, how, in what way it is connected to the wetland. UPSC always asks question on the periphery related to that particular article. UPSC will never ask you direct question. Dal Lake everybody knows. Dal Lake in Srinagar and Kashmir part, everybody knows that. It will be connected with geography, it will be connected with economic aspect, and based on that the question will be asked. Right? Now I'll take you to the article. Let's say take that article. I'm just opening that article. Right? If you take this article here, now look at here. This is the here given. You have a shikaras in the Dal Lake, right? Beautiful lake in Kashmir Valley, right? Lot of movies have been shot there, right? It's a picture place, what you have in the image there. And then if you take here, in this case here, now look at here. See what is given here. The other lakes which are to be declared protected wetlands include Puramandal Lake, also called Chota Kashi, located in Samba district. Government has not put across the proposal. There is a proposal pending on that. Srinagar's Dal Lake, among 5 famous ones in Jammu and Kashmir, to be declared as a protected wetlands. That was the news that came on the Wednesday. Now other lakes, the names have been given there. And what is very important now, look at here. Jammu and Kashmir Wetland Authority, J&K Wetland Authority has proposed declaring such wetlands, such lakes as important wetlands and the protection part of it. So what I want to tell you that this is the news article. You have to connect with the syllabus part. Right, you have to link with the syllabus part of it. Conservation in this part, you have to link with the syllabus. Wular Lake is already a declared Ramsar site in India. Wular Lake is the largest freshwater lake in India. Is already a part of the Ramsar Convention part of it. Now see here, Environment Protection Act and Wetland Conservation and Management Rules. Do you know Wetland Conservation Management Rules? There's a question mark. When you read such article, are you aware what are the provisions given under Wetland Conservation and Management Rules? UPSC will catch you there. All those experts who said the question will be based on this kind of management rules, not the Dal Lake and something which everybody knows that. Are you aware of the conservation initiatives in the country? Do you know about those kind of areas? Right? So here he comes into that. Now I'll come to another part of it. Let's say PIB. Right? What do you have to follow in the PIB? Year-end review. You have year-end achievement. I am just typing here year-end achievement. I am just demonstrating right now in the classroom the achievements of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and let's say I am writing here 2020. December month, every ministry and departments comes out with the achievement over the last 1 year, and you have all the highlights of whatever the initiatives taken by the ministry over the last 1 year, that is highlighted there. And I'll tell you that there are questions asked from there. There are questions on that, and you'll find here year-end review. And now let's look at here. Such kind of achievements and the review, there the UPSC question setter will ask questions on that, right? So here you can see here, India want to increase the share of non-fossil fuel to 175 gigawatt by 2022. Solar power, wind power, biomass power and small hydropower. 100 gigawatt solar power, 60 gigawatt wind power, 10 gigawatt biomass power and 5 gigawatt small hydropower, right? And we want to expand this to 450 gigawatt by 2030 under the Paris Agreement of the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Then degraded land, right? Tree cover, forest cover, Survey of India, Forest Survey of India. Now you can see here, National Clean Air Program, NCAP. Are you aware of this program? This is the UPSC. UPSC prelims exam question will be based on such kind of government programs. Like then you can see here, what is mentioned here? India Cooling Action Plan. Every year there are questions asked in the exam which are very new. India Cooling Action Plan in terms of climate change and the greenhouse gas generation, refrigeration part of it. Now you see here. You have here another one. Now look at here. Hazardous waste management rules, management transparency rules. All these what you find in the PIB, COP14, UNCCD, 14th Conference of Parties, which was hosted by India, right, New Delhi, and the hosting of UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Right, this is what you have there. BS6 compliant vehicle, Bharat stage. Right, based on Euro Norm 6, BS6 compliant vehicles in India. Current aspect, this is the current aspect. Then you can find forest and wildlife, right, Asiatic lion conservation project. Asiatic lion conservation project, right. Then here, that the part of tigers count in India. tiger census. Then total forest cover increased to 24.56%, right? Then what you find here in terms of CAMPA, compensatory afforestation fund, CAMPA part of it, right? Then comes here, you can see climate change. All this what you find in the PIB, this PIB update, that becomes important for the exam. Now what I would like to do here, what I would like to bring here is a very important one. Let's say when you study about national park, sanctuary, biosphere reserve, you have one government database called ENVIS. What is the government database? ENVIS. I am opening that one. ENVIS. Let's say Wildlife Institute of India and let's say Tiger Reserve. You want to know tiger reserves in India. It's a very comprehensive database which contains all the information about national parks, sanctuary, tiger reserves, elephant reserve, biosphere reserves, Ramsar sites, everything is given in this particular web page. Whenever you read newspaper, you have to connect with those kind of mapping part, biogeographical part and the mapping part of it, right? So you have this one, when you open this site, you'll get to know and read about that. So current affairs is the source, but how do you read current affairs is very important. I have just opened few websites and I have just told you some of the aspects. But don't worry. Don't worry, because when I will start with the topic and wherever the current aspect will be there, I will be linking with that. But what is the first thing? What is the very first thing? Syllabus. What is very first thing? Syllabus. The theory part of it. If you don't know the syllabus, if you don't know the theory part, current affairs is meaningless. I consider current affairs meaningless if you don't know the syllabus, if you don't know the theory part of it. So we will be first trying to understand the theoretical part of it. Then we'll connect the theory with the facts, application, current aspect, government programs. Then we'll connect with that, right? So now you can see here, this is the web page where you have a tiger reserves. All the data is given. On the left hand side you can find here tiger reserve, elephant reserve, Ramsar wetland site, everything is given there. All the information is given here. National parks, sanctuaries, you'll get everything. And here Project Tiger, 1973 Project Tiger, and when you go down here, you have the entire information, data is given there. You'll find all the data is given there. Even you have articles also there, map also given there. You have all the map and given about the tiger reserves. We have 50 tiger reserves in India, and through the mapping it has been given here. Right? Now we have got 42 Ramsar sites. Recently the Kavar Lake or Kabar Tal in Begusarai district of Bihar has been declared as a Ramsar site. Maharashtra has got 2 Ramsar sites, Lonar Lake, very famous lake, meteorite lake in Buldana district of Maharashtra, and then Nandur Madameshwar. Maharashtra state has got 2 Ramsar sites. Uttarakhand has got the first Ramsar site, wetland of international importance, that is Asan Barrage and Asan River. So now the government has expanded the network of wetlands in India and expanded the Ramsar sites there, which are wetlands of international importance. But what is very important for all of you? First you have to know what is a wetland, what is Ramsar Convention, what are the objective Ramsar Convention, then you have to go through the 42 Ramsar sites. First you have to know about Biodiversity Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Project Tiger and all, then you will get to know from the mapping part. Right? Now in my class, I will be focusing on the theory part and then linking the theory to the current aspect, but detailed current affairs. You have to follow detailed current affairs here. And very soon, you know, PT 365. For 2022 batch, you will also get PT 365. You have to follow here. I will give you current linkage from my own side, but again, you have the sources to follow here. Clear? And from time to time, I will take you to the website, important websites. We will be seeing that in the classroom. Alright. Now what I will do here, I will open for discussion. any question you have. Do you have any question here? Anything you want to ask me? Since I am going to start with the syllabus and the theory part, first of all, I want that today being the first class, if you have anything in your, you have to ask there. You are free to ask me. Right? You all are very free to ask me. If you have to ask any aspect, you can ask me. I have uploaded the material. Today you have got the material of the topics which we are going to cover in the classroom. I have given you the materials which we will be covering in today's class. That is already uploaded there. You can download that. What I explained here, in terms of whatever I have the explanation I have done, do you have anything here? Do you have anything to read? Do you have anything to ask me? And we will go in a sequential manner. I am not in a hurry. I don't want to rush through, right? Today I have shown you the part. I have just mentioned the syllabus part, but we'll go in a moderate pace. I will not go very slow. I will not go very fast. I will maintain my own pace, looking into the requirement of the students of the class. I'll follow my own pace. I'll start the syllabus. Don't worry about the syllabus part. I'll begin with that. But do you have anything specific regarding whatever overview I have given? You want to ask anything? You want to get any kind of clarification? You can do that. Then we can start with the subject. Anything you want to ask about environmental part, you can say me. We'll start. If you don't have any queries, if you don't want to ask about anything regarding source and sources I have referred, I'll start with the syllabus part. I will help you out to learn every aspect, don't worry. But Himanshu Gupta, he is asking me a question, how to learn current affairs. Okay. What do you do in the monthly current affairs? Right? A monthly current affairs class, and the teacher who teaches you in the monthly current affairs, I am 100% sure that teacher would have taught you, Himanshu, about the current affairs part. Like when you read the current affairs part, you have why in the news. Why that particular animal or plant or anything, convention, everything has come in the news, right? Then you have a box. Visualize monthly current affairs, you have a box there. Whatever is given in the box about that news, that becomes important. When you read newspaper current affairs, you have to underline the keyword. Or I'll suggest one thing. Just remember your school days, right? In school days, I don't know how many of you have been doing that scrapbook. You know what is scrapbook? Scrapbook? Scrap. What you used to do? You have to cut. You will cut the newspaper article, right? Any kind of a magazine or anything which you read. You take a printout of that, you make a cut of that, and then you put in the scrapbook. And that scrapbook becomes a ready reference materials. Right? So what you can do for current affairs, let's say Hindu paper or Indian Express or whichever magazine you read, whatever current aspect you are reading, you can cut that area, paste on your scrapbook. You make an environment scrapbook. That will become ready reckoner, ready revision material for you current affairs. But when you are reading that article, underline the keywords and connect the keyword with the syllabus. Link that with the syllabus part. Right? I have already given you example. Okay, what is a wetland, types of wetland, examples and all. I've already given you one example. Ask such questions. What are the part from the theory part you have to know from that current article what you are reading on that. If it's a climate change, what all things you have to know from climate change, topics from environment ecology and geography and all this part. If it is a ozone layer protection, then what are things about ozone layer, the theory part you have to cover from the syllabus. You have to link with that area. Right? Okay, Yamini Kumawat. She is asking me a question that is it necessary to make separate notes for environment regarding current affairs? Not necessary. It's a very hard work, but if you can do it, Yamini, if you can do it, it will help you a lot in the long term. I believe reading newspapers continuously and regularly is a more better exercise than last moment going through some kind of material there, right? So I will tell you that it's better when you read newspaper, you highlight it, make a cut of it. Don't write it there. Writing will take a lot of time. Make a cut of that newspaper article and then put in your scrapbook. Correct? Okay. Shambhu Kumar. Shambhu Kumar, that book is a now irrelevant book. Don't buy and don't go through that book. Which book you know that. I'll not name the book. Right? That book is after a coaching institute from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Right? You all are aware of that. Right? It came at a time, now see, it came at a time when there was not much study material to read on environment. And it became, all the things were there in that book, it became a, super hit book. All the toppers, everybody will say, read it. This one. Vision IS will provide you part 1, part 2, part 3, and it is much better than that book. Whenever you will get that study material of Vision IS, part 1, part 2, part 3, and when you go to the content page, it is all comprehensively prepared. You don't require a textbook. You don't require the textbook. If you have that book, keep it aside. Right, whenever you have time later on in future, you want to read, then you can follow that. But as of now, keep it aside. What I said that, don't do that mistake of jumping into the ocean. First start learning swimming in a baby swimming pool, right? Then Mahasagar. Sagar and Mahasagar will come later part. You have to first start from a baby step, right? All the websites which I'll tell you from time to time. When I'll come to the topic, we'll come to that one. If you don't have any query with respect to the subject, I'll start the subject. Okay? I'll start the subject there. So what I'll do here, now it is 6 o'clock. Let me start with the subject, right? I'll begin with the subject, introduce you to the subject. We'll have certain discussion on the subject. And once we are done with it, then we'll go to the part of this part, right? So let me clean the whiteboard. Now my request to everyone will be that whatever I write on the whiteboard, please do copy it. You make a separate notebook for environment ecology, and whatever I will be discussing in the subject wise, please read that one. Right? Please read all this part, right? And see, one way is that the teacher dictate you the notes. Second thing is that other than the dictation, there may be sometimes the points on the whiteboard which you can copy it. And always try to attend the class. I know that many of you are watching recorded videos. That depends on your priority, but again, if you can attend the class, much better, right? So let us start with the subject. So environment and ecology. Right. Wherever the relevant study materials will be there, I will be referring to that. So now environment and ecology here, you have two terms are there. One is the environment and second is the ecology. Right? Ecology and environment. Right? You all know that the meaning of the term environment. When you use the word environment, it means surrounding. Surrounding of the living organisms. When we look into our own surroundings, our own environment, we find sunlight, temperature, right, water, air, land, other type of animals and plants in my environment. That is surrounding. So when we talk about surrounding, surrounding is made up of two components, right? You have a living component, that is a biotic components, that form the part of the environment. At the same time, you have a abiotic component. Non-living parts of the environment. Right? So when we say biotic components here, that comprise of plants, animals, and microorganisms. Right? And when we look into the part of abiotic components, so that include the air, soil or land, water. You have other factors like physical conditions there, physical, right, and adaptive factor like for example soil pH, right, chemical factors, minerals and all this, right. So those all makes the part of the non-living components there. Ecology is derived from Greek word oikology. You will be aware of this word oikology, a Greek word oikology. Now this word oikology that was given by a German scientist named Ernst Haeckel. Ernst Haeckel, a German scientist in 1869, let me write the year also. In 1869, he used the word called oikology, from where the word ecology has been derived. Right? Now ecology word here as made of two terms, oikos and logo. Oikos and logo. Oikos here means house of living organism. Plants, animals and all the living organisms, wherever they are found to live. Right? And logo, as you know, that is scientific study. So in a literal sense, when you talk literal sense, in a literal meaning of the word oikology, from which the ecology word has come, it basically means here that is a scientific study of house of living organism. Wherever the living organisms are found to occur, that is what's called ecology. That is in terms of literal meaning of the word. I am talking about the literal meaning of the word. Right? Literal meaning of the word and terms, it comes into that. But ecology as a scientific study, there is when you talk about living and non-living conditions, living and non-living part of the environment is not a static, is not a separate. They are interconnected. There is a exchange of energy, matter, there is interrelationship happens there. So there is a interdependence and this interrelationship is there. Now this interrelationship and interdependence between the living components, biotic factors, and non-living components, abiotic factors, they are studied under the subject of ecology. What is environment? Environment is everything. Surrounding has everything, living and non-living, biotic and abiotic. But what does the subject of ecology does? Ecology subject studies the interrelationship between the living and the non-living parts of environment. Right? This interrelationship, that is where ecology comes into that. Ecological study comes into that. Though ecology literal meaning is the study of house of living organisms. Alright. Now let's look into that. What I have explained here, I will just try to go to the handout. Today I have already given you the handout also there. Now it will come to your screen, and now let's understand here this one. I have already given you this handout from the part 1 of the Vision IS study material, understanding ecology. We are first starting with the understanding ecology. Now concept of ecology and environment, which I have just explained here. Now what is here? The ecology can be defined, right? That is a scientific study, that is comes under a scientific study, right? Scientific study of interactions of organisms. So when we look into environment, which consists of all living and non-living, and when we try to study scientifically the interdependence, interrelationship, there the subject of ecology comes. Now the ecology subject, this subject here, ecology as a subject, today ecology, right, as a subject, as a discipline, has become multidimensional subject there. It derives concepts from various areas of science. One area comes biology or life sciences. That's why in NCERT textbook, in the class 12 biology, you have ecology aspect there. Right? So ecology as a subject comes there, and here the interaction comes. And what I explained here, that it comes from Greek word oikology, that is ecology is the study of the earth. Right? Literally, ecology is the study of the earth and is a household of plants, human beings, animals, microorganisms. And this was given by German geologist Ernst Haeckel in 1869. You can refer the handout. I have already given you handout. I will be using the whiteboard and the handout, combination of that. Right? Now what would I like to bring here? This subject has become so dynamic, this subject has become so important that it has brought within its scope many of sub-disciplines. Many times you will come across a word called ecosystem. Like sometimes we call forest as an ecosystem, grassland as an ecosystem, desert as an ecosystem. So if I have to explain that, I will come to the ecosystem. But let's say if I have to explain this part, right? If you have to explain this part which I have explained here, so let's say for example, when you talk about environment, right? If let's say in the subject of the ecology here, which is a subject of interaction interdependence, right? And it looks into here, you can say that is a study of interactions among living organisms and between living organisms and their surroundings, their environment. That's what the ecology is, the subject which deals with that. Now ecology as a subject comes out with various domains. There are various domains are there under which the ecology subject comes into that. Like for example here, you'll come across here, there's something called hierarchy, levels or hierarchy of study. Study within the subject of ecology. Right? The several levels are there, several hierarchies there, which has evolved over the last so many years of the discipline where the hierarchy has come up. Now what is this hierarchy here? Let us understand in this part. Before I go further, I'll just request everyone that whatever I am teaching, please go with the class. Whatever concept I am discussing, please follow that. Whatever points I am writing on the whiteboard, please note it down. Consider this as a class notes. Consider this as a kind of class notes. Plus I am also supplementing with you handout, which you can follow for your self-reading. For a self-reading part of, you can follow that, right? So since I have started from a very basic level, as a subject of ecology, I am starting from a very basic level there. I hope that you have copied this. Then I'll clean the whiteboard. I'll clean the whiteboard, I'll move to the next part. So whatever is given, please do write it, because I know this is a very big batch. So there may be different people who may be just watching like a movie, like an audience, right? So I will go further. Now 7 levels are there. There are certain hierarchies there. I'll be covering that one, right? And I will request you that please write it down at the same time when I am writing on the whiteboard, rather than waiting for a long time. That will increase the pace of the class, right? Now let's look at here. Now I am asking a question to the classroom. Let me see how the students are responding to my question in the classroom. And this can be a question in the examination also there, right? Let's say if I ask a question here, you get a question like this. What is the correct order in the study of ecology? Let's say I am asking this particular multiple choice question, what is the correct order in the study of ecology? And I am giving you a very direct question. A, population, biome, ecosystem, biosphere, right? Option B, population, ecosystem, biosphere, biome, right? Third option, biome, ecosystem, biosphere, population. And the fourth option, population, ecosystem, biome, biosphere. So what is the answer here? What will be the answer here? If you get this kind of question in the exam, right, where you get a direct question that, right, let me see your answer. The question is this one. I've written the question that. Let me see your response. You can type A, B, C, D, whatever you think that you can type that. What is the correct order in the study of ecology? A very simple question I have given here. Population A is a population biome ecosystem biosphere. B is a population ecosystem biosphere biome. C is the biome ecosystem biosphere population. And the D is population ecosystem biome biosphere. Most of you are giving me answer C as an answer. I can see from my response here, many of you are saying C as an answer. You know why I have asked this question? Because you have studied environment somewhere in your junior classes, not that in the school level or college level you have not studied about environment. And this gives me a fair idea कि कौन कितना पानी में है. Where do you stand? I can get to understand from this question. Many of you are giving me as a C as an answer. Few of you are giving me as a D as an answer. Right? Even there are very few people who are giving B as an answer. अब असली मजा आ रहा है ना. असली मजा अब आ रहा है. ठीक है. असली मजा अब आ रहा है जब मैंने क्वेश्चन दागा, तब पता चला कि कौन कितने पानी में. So for South Indian friends who are not very familiar with Hindi, what I've used the Hindi word here. So I said here that the real interest has now arisen, right? Has been now, because now we get to know who stands where in that deep water. Translation, Hindi to English, right? So sad. So sad. Unfortunately, most of you have been giving me wrong answer. Many of you are telling me C as an answer, which is a wrong answer. C is not the correct. Few of you are giving B as an answer. B for Bombay or B for Banaras is also wrong answer. But there are students who have given me correct answer. Those who have given me correct answer, the answer is D. D for Delhi. The correct answer is D. D for Delhi. So those who have given me answer as a D, they should pat on their back. Well done. Right? But those who have not given me the correct answer, don't be demoralized, don't be disheartened, don't be demotivated. You all have come to this class to learn, right? And my task is to help you learn, the learning process of that. And I will be putting such questions as I continue with the subject. I will be putting such kind of questions there to see that how many of you are able to respond, how many of you are able to get there. And I believe learning in the classroom. If you go with the classroom, it will be much better for you rather than at the last moment opening a textbook and reading that. All right. So going with the classroom is very important. So D is an answer. Right, D is an answer. Now let's come to that part. That's what I said. There are certain things which are very, very fundamental and you have to be aware of it. And then based on that, you have to build upon that. So let us understand here. What I said here is that there are levels of study in the subject of ecology. Right? Ecology subject focus on different hierarchy. It is also sometimes called holism in ecology. This is called as a holism. In the subject of ecology, it is called as the holism in ecology. Right? Holism in ecology comes into that. Alright? So holism in ecology, in that context, let us now go to that. This question which I have asked, see, the first level of study is the organism. An organism is the first level of study in the subject of ecology. And you all know organism will belong to species. What is species? When you say tiger as a species or human being as a species, what do you mean by that term? Species here means where the individuals, right, biologically, their individuals are able to reproduce. to have fertile offsprings, which can further give birth to, right, next generation, the part of it, perpetuation of generations, hereditary part of it. So what is species? That is based on interbreeding capacity. Although mule or liger will be exception, but the offsprings of liger or mule are infertile. But when you talk about tigers or lion or panther or leopard or deer or human being, they can reproduce, like deer in their own species can reproduce within the species. I'm talking within the species. And the offsprings which are there, they're fertile ones. So first level of study is the organism. And organism is a part of population. In the subject of ecology, the next hierarchy which comes the population study. Right? Is the population study. Now what is population? Population here means individuals of same species. Individuals of same species which belong to the same species, that is called as a population. In a given area, in a given habitat, all the individuals, all the members belonging to same species, that is called as population. Like when you say human population, it refers to all human beings in a given particular area. When you say tiger population, you refer to all the tigers found in that particular area. Same species. Now population, various type of populations of species, that makes a very important term called a community. What is the word here? Community. Biotic community. Biological community or biotic community. What is biotic community or biological community? Community here refers to all different types of species. All different types of species and their populations in a given area. And their populations in a geographical area, in an area or in a habitat. Different types of plants and animal species that and their populations that comprise the community. We have animal community. When you say animal community means all different types of animal species found in that area. Tiger, lion, right, deer or cow or goat or whatever the animals are there. When you say plant community, you refers to all types of plants, grasses, then bamboo, then in terms of sal, mango, neem, all types of different types of species there. And plant community, animal community makes the biotic community. Now what comes the next one? In the hierarchy is called ecological system, or what we call as a ecosystem. The next word comes here, ecological system, ecosystem. Now what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is a very important term, ecological system. What is ecology? I have written very clearly. What is ecology? Ecology as a subject. When you talk about a subject, ecology is the subject of interaction and interdependence, living and non-living. And from there the word ecology, from there comes the ecological system, ecosystem. What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is that area which made of the biological community. Here the biotic community, all plants and animals. Biotic community, all animals and plant species and which are found there, together with its surrounding, together with its environment, its surrounding, and their interaction. There was a question asked in Upsc exam, 2015 exam, in the prelims exam there was a direct question. Which of the following best describe the term ecosystem? In a given geographical area, all the biological community together with their environment and the interaction. Interaction is again very important one. That makes the ecosystem. Forest is an ecosystem. Grassland is an ecosystem. Ecosystem can also be man-made. human constructed or man-made ecosystem can be possible, like irrigation canal or aquaculture pond or reservoir. They are the man-made ecosystems where you have the species and their interactions are there. Now what comes the next level here, that ecosystem. The ecosystem give rise to a bigger ecosystem, large geographical area or landscape, and that is where the concept of biome comes. Biome. Next what comes here? Biome. What do you mean by biome? Biome is a large geographical area. There is a large geographical area. That large geographical area with climate, distinct climate. With distinct climate, right? That it depends on the climatic conditions. Rainfall, temperature, wind, precipitation. All those factors determine the climatic condition of that large geographical area. And it has a flora and fauna. It has the plants and animals. With plants and animals. With plants and animals. Those who are not able to see, I will read out there. What is a biome? Biome is a large geographical area with a distinct climate with plants and animals that form the biome. Let's take example, tropical rainforest. Amazon in Brazil is the largest rainforest of the world. Is said to be lung of the planet. So rainforest, tropical rainforest are found in Brazil, Amazon, found in Africa, found in India, Western Ghats of India. You have a tropical rainforest. Andaman Nicobar, we have tropical rainforest. All tropical rainforests worldwide forms the tropical rainforest biome. Desert, extreme desert or whatever desert, Thar, Sahara, Atacama, all the deserts that form the biome. Tundra or tundra, you have studied in geography, tundra, 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 permafrost. Arctic, when we go to Arctic, right, we find polar bear. We'll hardly find the tall trees and plants. We'll find the small plants, and once in a year when the snow melt, thawing, and then you have small plants, lichens and moss. Tundra as a biome, right? Oceans form the marine biome. All the oceans, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Oceans, they form the marine biome. Now all these biomes, right, they make the largest domain, that is what is called biosphere. All the domains of biomes, we take the terrestrial biomes and aquatic biomes. Aquatic biomes will include fresh water, at the same time marine. If we take them together, it forms the earth where we live, the living planet. That is the biosphere. It forms the biosphere. So what is the correct order? Organism as a part of species become the part of population. Population of species become part of community. Community with the interaction and with the environment, that forms the ecological system. Large ecosystem with distinct climatic conditions together with the flora and fauna, that forms the biome, and all the terrestrial biomes with marine biome form the biosphere. So what is correct order? Population, that makes ecosystem. You have to select from the choice. Whatever the choice I have given, you take based on the choice, whatever the words I have given based on choice there. Ecosystem, that will form a biome, and biomes will make biosphere. D as an answer. Is it clear? Right? Is it clear here? Everybody is able to understand this concept? That's what I have asked the question first. Your question's answer, there you have the terminology, there are the concepts are there. Alright? Now let's look at here. I'll now come to the handout. I'll now get back to the handout. Now let's look at the handout here. right? Now comes here, what is ecosystem? The person who defined ecosystem, if we now look at ecosystem, is the community of life forms, all types of community and the life forms, biological community is there, in concurrence with their non-living environment, non-living components of the environment and the interaction with each other. This is called as an ecosystem. Forest is an ecosystem, right? Lake is an ecosystem. That's where the ecosystem comes. And the term ecosystem was coined by Arthur George Tansley. Arthur Tansley, he gave the concept in 1935. The ecosystem concept was forwarded by Arthur George Tansley, another scientist in the subject of ecology. Then you can see environment. What is environment? Environment is the sum total of all conditions, influences that affect the development and life of all organisms on earth. That is what's called one's surrounding. That is what the environment is there. You have to be aware of the key terms, right? You have to be aware of the key terms there. All the key terms becomes very, very important. Now what I would do here, let's watch a small documentary. I'll now play a small documentary for all of you, and it's a very, very important concept which I would like to discuss in the classroom here, Gaia hypothesis. I don't know how many of you are aware of this particular concept called Gaia hypothesis. But it's a very, very important concept which was given by James Lovelock. James Lovelock, scientist, he gave the Gaia hypothesis, right? And let us understand this Gaia hypothesis. I'll just play a small video for all of you.
The city of Manchester is a global hotspot for research in the sciences, contributing countless researchers and scientific breakthroughs. One such scientist is the infamous James Lovelock. Born in Hertfordshire in 1919, he was frequently seen as a maverick throughout his childhood and adult life. He dealt badly with authority at his London school and was reported to have refused to test on rabbits during his World War II research, instead looking at skin burns by experimenting on himself. After school, he spent 2 years in paid work and raised the money so that he could fund his own education, studying chemistry at the University of Manchester. Upon the completion of his chemistry degree, Lovelock's career varied massively and included stints working on a Quaker farm, studying a PhD at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and eventually working for NASA. As he worked on developing sensitive analytical instruments in the hope of detecting extraterrestrial life, it was here that Lovelock proposed the Gaia hypothesis. The Gaia hypothesis, otherwise known as the Gaia principle or theory, was proposed as a new way of understanding our relationship with the planet Earth. Lovelock described the Earth as a being in and of itself, which interacts with each individual organism. We already know that changes in non-living things, like the soil, water, or temperature, can cause changes in living organisms. This is called natural selection. But Lovelock suggested that this was a cyclical process. So both the living and non-living components change simultaneously, so that life maintains the conditions suitable for its own survival. The idea was first developed when Lovelock was working for NASA. He was looking at the elements present in the atmosphere of different planets and compared that to what was found on Earth. Oddly enough, while the atmosphere on Earth was the only one proven to actually allow life, it was also the one that made the least chemical sense. In fact, the balance of elements was so out of whack that it was even close to being explosive. So it seems that the atmosphere on Earth is best suited for life to be sustained, and in turn, the living organisms on Earth maintain that atmosphere. Recently, we've also been given evidence for the Gaia hypothesis in clouds. Organic vapors necessary for cloud formation are generated by bacteria, trees, and livestock. And in turn, the clouds maintain the temperature of the Earth so that it's best suited for these organisms to survive. So, the Gaia hypothesis offers insight into climate change, energy, health, and agriculture. However, many scientists have made large criticisms of the theory, and in particular focusing on situations where living organisms have a negative effect on our planet. If the Gaia hypothesis suggests that the living and non-living grow together in synchrony, It doesn't fit with the negative effects we have on our surroundings. In fact, Lovelock even suggests that climate change is not our fault, and instead just a result of our simultaneous evolution. Despite all of these criticisms, the Gaia hypothesis still remains in discussion up to 40 years later, and many researchers continue to consider it as a possible option. And in modern days, similar ideologies form the basis of Earth system science.
Let's talk about a difficult concept, the Gaia hypothesis, or some people would prefer that it's called a theory now at this point. James Lovelock was working for NASA and coming up with a method to see if there was life on other planets by looking at them through a telescope instead of traveling there, much more cost effective, and using the light coming from the planet to then estimate what the atmosphere was made of. So in his moment of insight, he realized that he could use what it would look like to look at the Earth from space as a model for what light frequencies might be reflected off of an atmosphere of a planet that had an atmosphere capable of sustaining life. What he realized then was that the gases in the atmosphere that reflect the light come from living things. That living things aren't just in the atmosphere, but that they help maintain the levels of gases in the atmosphere, so they're helping to maintain the Earth as well. So he had this idea of the Gaia hypothesis, that the Earth behaves like a living thing, in that it maintains its own homeostasis, mostly keeping its temperature constant or relatively constant. He wasn't saying it was a living organism, as it isn't self-replicating, but it exhibits the same characteristics of maintaining itself and its own temperature like living things do. And he proposed that the living things and the physical Earth are in collaboration with each other. But what came first, and what is the driving force? Well, this is kind of a chicken and egg question to some degree. The Earth was certainly here physically and geologically active before life. And the geology was very active early on. Volcanoes were erupting, meteors were striking the surface and putting gases and dust into the atmosphere and so on. And this certainly had an effect on the composition of the atmosphere. And it's common to think then the Earth came geologically first, and then after the Earth was physically formed and all set and ready, life could appear and evolve on the planet. But of course we know that life itself, instead of just responding and evolving on the planet, is actually participating in the evolution of the physical planet as well, and the makeup of the atmosphere. So Lovelock came along and proposed that in actuality, these two things are working together in concert with one another, the living systems and the geological systems, to maintain the atmosphere. So let's consider a very simplified carbon cycle. The rabbit breathes out carbon dioxide, and the plant breathes that in, and then releases oxygen. These two kinds of organisms participate in a cycle that maintains CO2 and oxygen levels in the atmosphere. But that's not all. The animal is also breathing out water that ends up in the atmosphere. And eventually that water rains back down and is absorbed by the plant, which passes the water on to the animal that eats it. Not only are the plants and the animals connected to each other, they are interconnected within the atmosphere and with the atmosphere. As the Earth gets covered with plants and ice, these are reflective surfaces, and so they cool the planet. And life responds by evolving species that can survive in cooler climates and cooler temperatures. If the amount of plants reduce, for example, or the amount of reflective ice changes, or CO2 is added to the atmosphere, this can cause more heat to be absorbed, and that raises the temperature a bit, which might affect the life as well, which then affects the gases in the atmosphere or the reflectivity of the planet itself, which might then again cause the temperature to lower a little bit. So the Earth is governed by this thermostat of living things, if you will, and that maintains the homeostasis. So we have this feedback loop. The temperature rises, which changes the kind of life on the planet, which then might lower the temperature slightly just like shutting off the heat on a home furnace with a thermostat as the temperature rises. This allows the planet to maintain a narrow temperature range that supports life. And this creates then a negative feedback loop, because it's a negative feedback loop, not meaning that it's bad, but meaning that as something goes in one direction positive, then the system responds by bringing it back to the center. And so we have this negative feedback loop allowing the Earth to maintain its own homeostasis through a complex interaction between the living Earth and the geologic Earth. And this is the Gaia hypothesis, or now maybe should be called the Gaia theory, as proposed by James Lovelock.
Okay, I played the video. There was initially certain type of echo was there, but then I tried to manage it. So that's what I was looking at your feedback in the response, that whether you are able to hear it or not. See, sometimes in the classroom, if I am playing any documentary, any kind of video, it is also relevant for the examination. Right? Even the question can come from such a documentary which I'll play in the classroom there. And I've taken a very important topic in today's class, and it can be a question in the coming exam, right? So what you have seen in there, that's in terms of Gaia hypothesis. Gaia hypothesis, right? This I played the video there. This particular concept has been given by UK scientist James Lovelock. He gave this hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a statement which need to be proved. When you carry out any kind of research, you put across hypothesis. And based on the experiment, based on the finding, based on the research, hypothesis can be accepted or rejected. That's what is called hypothesis. It's not a foolproof concept, but it is proposed by James Lovelock, which need to be further studied and said that. But now what is the point here? What this scientist, UK scientist James Lovelock talked about is the word Gaia. Here the word Gaia, that is from the Greek mythology. It has been taken from Greek mythology, right? In the Greek mythology, Earth, right? Earth is called to be Gaia. Is considered to be a goddess. Greek mythology, you have a number of goddesses. Just like in India, we consider our Earth as a Prithvi or Earth, Mother Earth, right? We call it a Mother Earth, right? Savior of the life, giver of the life. We call it in the mythological part there. Even Indian mythology, you have that reference of Prithvi as a Mother Earth. In Greek mythology, it is called Gaia, right? Now, what is this particular hypothesis that the Earth as a biosphere, right? Earth as a biosphere, as a biological sphere, is a self-sustaining, is a self-regulating or self-sustaining, right? It sustains all life forms. Animals, including humans, plants, microorganisms, all are sustained. They stay in on the Earth there. And Earth is the only planet in the solar system which has life. All other planets in solar system do not have the life, but Earth has got the life. So there is some kind of inherent mechanism with the Earth as a biosphere which control, regulate, sustains all life forms, right? So here the Earth as a biosphere is a self-sustaining with here the one word comes here, homeostasis. A very important term is the homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis means it maintains equilibrium. It maintains a kind of a steady state. And that steady state, that equilibrium is maintained through feedback. Positive feedback, negative feedback. Now this theory, Gaia hypothesis, recent time it has come to the headline because of COVID-19. Even the scientists are trying to link COVID-19 with the recent pandemic, the current pandemic which we are going through, has been now studied through the Gaia hypothesis through that. Earth always goes to some kind of a changes over a geological time scale, and Earth is facing a lot of changes in the present time. Right, we are making a drastic change to the different ecosystems and all, we are making such changes. But again, Earth has the capacity to regenerate. Right, that happens through homeostasis. Right, and this homeostasis, what is called as here steady state. Steady state equilibrium, which is maintained through feedback. Steady state equilibrium of all the life processes, right? All life processes which happen on the earth, carbon cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle, all the food chain, food web, right, the cycling of energy, matter, everything. That happens through the homeostasis, where you have a feedback. You have a feedback mechanism. Right? And you all know that. What is biosphere? Biosphere is a layer of living organisms. Wherever we go on the earth, on the land, in the air, on the water, under the sea, we find different life forms. Right? We find different life forms on the earth. It is said that 20 kilometers thick, we have a biosphere. 500 meters below the sea surface, that is 500 meters deeper in the ocean, till 6 kilometers in the atmosphere, we have a living sphere called as biosphere. And most of the life forms, right? If we talk about biosphere, right, this biosphere, here most of life forms, vertebrates, invertebrates, whatever the life forms are there, most of life forms exist in a thick layer. There's a thick layer of 20 kilometers, right? Starting from 500 meters, right? 500 meters, depth from ocean surface till 6 kilometers in atmosphere. Imagine, just imagine, from 500 meters, that is the 200 meters, the sunlight can penetrate the ocean. What is called photic zone. For 500 meters almost becomes a twilight and dark. From there, and we go up to 6 kilometers, 6,000 meters in the air. You have all living forms, all living organisms. What I've used the word here? Most of living forms. I am not using the word all, because I know that there are students in the classroom, they will start, exaggerating there. It's not all, I am saying most of living organisms. There are living organisms even in the bottom of the ocean. Even if you go to the deepest part of the ocean, trenches, Mariana Trench, submarines, there also will find certain type of marine living organisms. So I am not saying all, I am saying most of life forms. But still we have life forms even in the ice, below the ice in Antarctica, even in the deepest part of oceans we have life forms. But most of the living organisms, they are said to exist in this 20 kilometer thick layer, what we call as a biosphere. Right? This is what we call as a biosphere. So you can say that the earth, right, if you take here in the atmosphere, and let's say the ocean here. So if you take from the ocean 500 meters, what I'm saying here, 500 meters depth, right? And there in the atmosphere, 6,000 meters or 6 kilometers. This particular kind of a part of the, what we find, that is what defines the extent of biosphere. We call it as a biosphere, which include the atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, right? Wherever that area, we call it as a kind of a surrounded by all living forms, or most of the living forms are there. So that is where the biosphere comes there, right? And this biosphere, where this theory of Gaia hypothesis comes, self-sustaining, self-regulating unit, what you have seen in the documentary, the videos, right? So biosphere as a concept, as a part of ecology, is a very, very important concept. That's what we call biosphere as a, this is the only the planet, what I've said, the living planet, which is able to sustain living organism there, right? Able to sustain the living organisms, all right? So now let's come to the part of it further, which I have mentioned that, right? Let me come back to the, again, the handout. In the handout also I have given Gaia hypothesis. I'll tell you what is given there. So let us now come to the handout here. See, in the box, if you go to the box here, there are two broad classification of ecology, Ort ecology, Syn ecology. The two classification comes, right? Ort ecology, which deals with species and the population. Syn ecology deals with the community part of it. That I have given in the handout. In the box you have, in the visualized material you have given that. So let us now look at here this particular part of it, and also the Gaia hypothesis which has been given there, right? So now let me mark important points there. So now let's look at here, this box here, the two important areas of ecology called Ort ecology. What is here? Ort ecology. That is the study of relationship of individual species with the environment, right? And second is called Syn ecology. That is the study of plant communities, animal communities with respect to the ecosystem. That is called as Syn ecology, or what is also called sometimes community ecology. This is also referred to as a community ecology, right? Now this is the Gaia hypothesis, which I mentioned, it is given here. What is Gaia hypothesis? It is a scientific hypothesis which states that Earth is a complex living entity. Earth is a complex living entity with sustenance of life dependent on self-regulating interactions among organisms and their inorganic surroundings. For example, climatic conditions depend on the interaction among living organisms like human beings and their non-living atmosphere, all of which regulate each other continuously. Then Gaia hypothesis is named after the mythical Greek goddess Gaia, who personifies the earth. It was first time proposed by British scientist James Lovelock in his 1972 paper, when 1972 paper, that Gaia is seen through the atmosphere, as seen through the atmosphere. And this could be a question. This Gaia hypothesis could be a question in the exam. UPSC can ask you question on that. It can be a part of the examination question, right? Now Priyal is asking a question that why is Earth called as a biome? Earth is not called as a biome. Earth is called as a biosphere. I have mentioned very clearly, I am coming on the whiteboard. Organisms form the population. Population is the part of community, various type of population species. They form with the interaction with the surrounding ecosystem, and ecosystems make biomes. Biomes are large geographical area with the climatic conditions, temperature, wind, air, everything, with their unique flora and fauna. That's a climatic zone. Tundra, taiga, tropical rainforest, all these are called biomes. When you take all the terrestrial biomes, forest biome, grassland biome, desert biomes, and then we take marine biomes, ocean, that makes the biosphere. Mr. Priyal, right, or Miss Priyal, I don't know whether you are male or female. So the person who has asked me a question, Earth is made up of biomes, right? Earth is made up of biomes. Several biomes, they make the Earth as a biosphere, right? What is a biome? Is a large geographical area based on climatic conditions and with a unique flora and fauna, biodiversity part of that is what make the biome, right? Clear here? So this is where the limit comes into that thickness of 20 kilometer starting from here, right? I am talking in terms of not the height, altitude, I am talking thickness. I know that many of you are not able to relate with this 20 kilometers. That is in terms of, see here if you take, it will come into how much? 6.5 kilometers. right? 6.5 kilometers. That's see here, in terms of it comprises different parts of that. Every that part together which constitute together makes the kind of a biosphere, right? So deepest part of the ocean, right, to the, let's say, mountain cap, we can think of that kind of a living entity or kind of biosphere part of it, right? 12 miles, that's where it comes into that. All right, up to here it is all right. And then you have a levels of organization. In the handout, when I'll come to that, you have got the levels of organization. It's also mentioned in the handout. Please follow the handout which I have uploaded in the, it has been uploaded to your login page. Please follow that. So here it is already given here. Organisms, right? You have the organism part. They make the basic unit of study in ecology, right? Structure and function. Then population, that is a group of individuals of same species inhabiting the same area, that form the population. Biological community, that is called biotic community, interdependence and interaction among population of different species in habitat. Then ecosystem, that is in the part of the nature of living organisms, right? Parts of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and with the physical environment. Then when you go to the part of ecosystem is a self-regulating, self-sustaining unit of landscape, pond or forest. What is a landscape? A landscape is a unit of land with a natural boundary having a mosaic of patches which generally represent between ecosystems. And then comes biome. Here comes the biome. What is biome? Biome is a large geographical unit characterized by major vegetation type. Let's say taiga, coniferous forest, tropical rainforest, right? And associated with fauna, the animals, right? Found in that specific climatic zone. This you study in geography in the climatic zones there, right? The biome include all associated developing and modified communities occurring within the same climatic region. Within the same climatic region, right? Like forest biome, grassland biome, savanna biome, desert biome, all these are examples. And then on a global scale, right? On a global scale, if you look at, on a global scale, all the Earth's terrestrial biomes and aquatic systems constitute the biosphere. That makes the biosphere, right? We will see all the detailed part. See, we will be seeing all this detailed part later on, right? And here, then comes the biosphere definition. What is biosphere? A biosphere is a part of the earth where life can exist. Biosphere is the part of the earth where life can exist. It represents a highly integrated, kind of an interacting zone comprising of atmosphere, air, then lithosphere and hydrosphere, land mass and water. That form the biosphere. Part of the earth where life can exist, and highly integrated and highly interactive zone comprising of atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, that forms the biosphere, right? And then you have a difference between biome and the ecosystem. We'll see that difference. First, I'll make you understand what is an ecosystem. Once you understand ecosystem, you will understand the difference between ecosystem and biome. You'll be able to understand that. All right. So what I'll do here, just a small break. I'll give you a short break now. Right. Let us have a small break here. Right. 5 minutes break. I'll give you 5 minutes break, 5 to 10 minutes break. We'll resume back. Right. After every 1 hour 45 minutes or 2 hours, I'll give you a small break. And then we'll continue till 8 o'clock. Is it fine? Whenever our classes will be held, I'll start from there. I'll give you a small break of 5 to 10 minutes in between, and then I'll go till the last of the class. I have started from a very basic level. In today's class, I have started with a very rudimentary, very fundamental level. I have started from the theory part of it. अभी पिक्चर बाकी है दोस्त, राइट? असली मूवी तो अभी स्टार्ट होना है. I am just trying to introduce a new kirdar, new character in the movie. The story has just begun, right? So what we are discussing today is just a starting point, right? Entire environment ecology is the iceberg. We have not seen the tip of the ice, we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. The entire of the iceberg we are going to cover. And I'll tell you that this subject is very interesting. You will all love this subject and you will enjoy the class of environment ecology. I've started just from a basic theory part of it, right? A teacher has to always take care of all types of students. आप सभी मेरे है ना ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स हैं जिनका मुझे ख्याल रखना है, राइट? एंड एनवायरमेंट इकोलॉजी यू आर इन माई हैंड्स, ठीक है? सो डोंट वरी, राइट? आई एम गोइंग टू टेक यू वन बाय वन टू एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट, ठीक है? अभी पिक्चर बाकी है दोस्त. सो नाउ मूवी विल स्टार्ट, राइट? So basic fundamental area, don't worry about it. Be happy, right? And I request you to be part of the classroom and interact in the classroom, right? Rather than just watching, recorded video. It's better to be in the part of the classroom and learning in the classroom, enjoying the classroom there, right? Let's have a break and come back. Okay, we'll resume back. There was a question I know that I have seen in the response chat also, and one student has asked also that, Rashi Garg has asked the question that, what is that 20 kilometer thickness? See, when you're talking thickness here, I'm not talking in terms of vertical, I'm talking in terms of width, right? The width part of it. One comes this one and the width part of it. It is basically the life forms which exist, whether ocean or something of that. So there I referred that. See, it's better that if you're getting confused from this word, if you have confusion with respect to 20 kilometers, that is a part. See here, better what you can understand is that from the deeper part of the ocean, let's say 8,000 meters deep in the ocean, till the part of the 8,000 meter above the mean sea level. So around 16 kilometers you'll come across that, right? Around 16 kilometers, around that range comes there. That is the kind of a thickness of the entire part. You can understand that 20 kilometer thick I am saying, I am referring from every aspect, from the bottom of the ocean, deepest part of the ocean till the, you can take Mount Everest. Highest peak, 8848 meters, Mount Everest. Let's say highest peak, if you look at here, if I consider to be 8848 right, meters, right, almost around 9 kilometers, right? And if you take the deepest part of the ocean, right, if you take the deepest part of the ocean again depth will go to 8 kilometers and all this, and you consider that. So that is the entire, you can say the entire aspect of the continent, right, and the landmass, oceans, everything. That will come also 20 kilometer kind of thickness there. But where the most of the life forms are there, most of living organisms will be there. But what does that mean? It does not mean that there is no life form here. Even the darkest part of the oceans, if we go to darkest part of the ocean, even below 400 meters, 500 meters, again you have a life form, marine lives are there. Ocean is again full of lives. You have a jellyfish, sponge, all those kind of sea anemone, all these kind of species are found here. Even the bottom dwellers, even the bottom part of the ocean, there's something called benthos. They are the bottom dwellers. So in the geography you have studied deepest part of the ocean, and even we go deeper part, Mariana Trench, right? We go to trench and Mariana Trench, we find the living organism. And let's say we go up to 8,848 meters, that is the highest peak, like Mount Everest, even up to the 9 kilometers, we find the living organism. You can consider that the deepest part of the ocean here, till the part of the troposphere. See, there are some life forms which we cannot see. The 20 kilometers is referred to here. In terms of 20 kilometers, we are referring to that part. Now it is clear here. Right now it is getting clear there. Many of you had the doubt that I have referred here 500 meter depth and 6,000 meter above the mean sea level. But then I have written 20 kilometer. 20 kilometer means if you come from the deepest part of the ocean and then up to the 9 kilometers, that part of the troposphere, the life forms are there. Even bacteria, right? Bacteria we cannot see with naked eyes. With naked eyes we cannot see bacteria, but bacteria is a part of living world. Bacteria are part of the living world, even though it is not visible to our naked eyes, but they are part of living world. Hot springs, hot sulfur springs, even the ice, Antarctica snow and ice, even the deepest part, that bacteria have been found by scientists. So that is where the 20 kilometer comes there, right? So that is what I am talking about, the entire range. This is the talking range there. But where the most of the living organisms are there, most of the living organisms will find in the photic zone till the 6 kilometer. This is most of the, you can find this part is abundant with life. 500 meters to 6 kilometer is an abundant. You have more abundance of life form. Here you have more abundance. Abundance of life forms are there. Right? Is it clear? I have written here abundance of life forms which exist in this area. Abundance will be in this area. Most of the living organism will be there. But if you take the entire biosphere, the deepest part of the ocean till it goes to that part. Right? Even I have said such microorganisms which we cannot see, but they are part of the living world. Correct? Is it clear here? Now the doubt is clear. Okay, now what I'll do here. See, I am going in a sequential order. I am giving you the understanding in such a way that you are able to connect with the part of it. Now let's come to this part. Let's say what I would like to bring about here is that we'll go to the concept of ecosystem. We'll now study about the ecosystem part of it. Right? We'll go to the concept of ecosystem. Let me clean the whiteboard so that we can discuss this part. And since we have started a very static theory in today's class, we will at least couple of classes we will take to complete this kind of a theory part. But again, remember that the most important part of the examination is the part of the wildlife, biodiversity, climate change, pollution. They are the more important part. What I am now discussing and what I have started here is just the beginning part. They are not very relevant for now the examination pattern. Present examination pattern is not that important. But at least you have to know the subject and the syllabus, you have to be aware of it. So let's come to the concept of ecological system or ecosystem. So here this concept, right, which is given by Arthur George Tansley. E.G. Tansley, who gave this concept of ecosystem. Let us understand here. I'll put across in the flow chart here, which you consider as a mind map, so that you can have a quick revision before the exam. So I'll make a flow chart in this context. See, when you say ecosystem, first understanding of ecosystem is that in terms of living place. That is here living space or living place, or you can say here, or physical space occupied by living organism. Physical space occupied by living organisms, that is called as what we call as a habitats. In the subject of environment ecology, we use the word habitat. Living space or physical space occupied by living organism, that habitat comes into that, right? And here you can take into account two aspects of that. There are natural type of ecosystem. At the same time, there are man-made or human constructed artificial types of ecosystems can be there. Now natural, again, you can divide into two parts. Either terrestrial, land-based terrestrial ecosystems, or you can make it, we can understand in terms of classification aquatic, freshwater and marine, that comes into it. Same way artificial can also be land-based terrestrial and it can be aquatic, right? So first understanding of ecosystem is that in terms of a living place. And there is a classification: natural, which can be terrestrial or aquatic. Aquatic can be fresh water or saline, salt water or brackish. Same way, artificial can be terrestrial and aquatic. Aquatic can be again fresh water or brackish. Let's look at a question here. Let's look at a question in the, let's say if you get a question in the examination, which of following is our artificial or man-made, let's say artificial or man-made ecosystem. Let's say you get a question of this kind, right? And you are given the choice here: lagoon, farmland, national park, right? And the fourth given here, let's say estuary. Let's say, see, UPSC question setter can give you any example. You have to always think broad. Multiple choice question, you have to always think in a broader context. And let's say I am giving you the option here: 1, 2 and 3, 2, 3 and 4, right? The next option you have here: 2 and 2 only, D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And I'll give you one more option here. Let me do one. 2 and 4 only, right? Let's say you have a choice like this one, right? 2 and 4, and there, let's say 2 and 4. No, I'll just give you one more. Let me change the option here. You have here 1, 2 and 3. So let's say here 1, then you have a 3 and 4, then you have a 2 and 4, right? 2 and 4 as an option here, 2 only, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what will be the answer here? It can be any kind of options given in the exam hall. What can be the answer here? It's a very direct question which I put across, which can be asked in the exam. And the any of the examples can be asked in the question paper. I have just given you few examples here which have decided on the artificial part of it. Okay, so I am now seeing your responses there. I am getting all types of response there. It almost looks like a matrix. All you guys are giving one after another. Okay, I am getting that answer there. All right. Good. Let me see where the majority has been given there. I think there has to be voting meter. Just like KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati. All the audience which give the ABCD, and you have a graph. How many people, like, KBC, Amitabh Bachchan and KBC, when the question is asked, ask the audience, right? Audience poll. So there's a voting machine and you get a graph. That A, how many people have given, B has given C and D. If that kind of thing is there, it will be really very interesting. But anyway, that system is not here, so we'll manage with your answer here. Anyway, whatever you have given here, so the answer here is, let's go to one by one. Lagoon. Let's say, for example, Chilka Lagoon. Chilka Lagoon, which is the largest, lake, area-wise, the largest lake in India, that is Chilka Lagoon in Odisha, right? Pulicat Lagoon, all the lagoon. So lagoon here, Chilka is a natural type of. It is not a artificial. It's a natural. Pulicat Lagoon between Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Chilka Lagoon, which is the largest lake of India in Odisha, Puri and Ganjam district on that part of it, right? So that comes again natural one, right? Now farmland. Farmland, let's say, for example, crop cultivation, where we have a crop cultivation which we carried out there. is a man-made wetland, is a artificially created or human constructed wetland. So 2 is definitely a artificial wetland. Now coming to national park. Let's say for example Kaziranga National Park. Let's say Kaziranga National Park in Assam. Is it a natural or a man-made? Which is known for great one-horned rhino, tiger, greater one-horned rhino, then elephant. Is it a natural or a man-made? Or let's take another example. Let's say I'll give you another example here. One national park I've given. Let's take example Bandipur. Where is Bandipur National Park? It is in the state of Karnataka, which is part of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, Bandipur, near to Mysore in the state of Karnataka, and it forms a part of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Is it a natural or a man-made? Or let's say very famous one, Corbett National Park. Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand. Is it a natural or man-made? Many of the students, they think that national parks are man-made. Have we done there some kind of changes there? No. What change we have done? We only mark the boundary. We only create the boundary. If this is a national park, let's say, if this is the national park, by law we only designate the boundary. Under Wildlife Protection Act, under the law we only make the boundary. But this habitat, this area is a natural forest. It is basically a natural forest. This area which comprises the national park is for the protection of the wildlife. And by law we only mark the boundary. But this habitat, this area is a natural forest or a grassland or a desert or whatever the ecosystem is there. That is natural. So national park is a natural. It is not, though we create the boundary, though we mark the boundary for protection of animals and plants within the national park, but still that habitat, that ecosystem is a natural one. Right? Now coming to estuary, mouth of the river. Let's say, for example, you know that, I'll just give you example, Narmada. Narmada, which makes the estuary in Gujarat, Arabian Sea, is a natural one, is also a natural one. So what is the answer here? The answer is C, 2 only. Yes, man-made lagoons are there. There are sometimes humans also can create forest. I'll just give you one example. A very important person in India, he has come in the headlines. He belongs to Assam and he is called Forest Man of India. I don't know how many of you are aware of his name. His name is Jadav Payeng. Jadav Payeng from Assam. At the age of 17 years, he started, planting the sapling. And today, he has created a forest on the bank of river Brahmaputra in Assam, where you have one-horned rhino, you have a tiger, lion, everything is there. So Jadav Payeng, Forest Man of India, has created artificially there, but actually that forest has become a natural one, no? Though human beings can also create forest. We can also create artificial lagoon, like if you go to Gulf countries, they've created artificial island. Sometimes artificial island is also created. Right? Man-made kind of island country. See, whenever you get question of this nature, whenever you have a question of this kind, you have to always take from the general context. There may be man-made lagoon, there may be sometime man-made island, right? Man-made forest. They are exceptions. They are exceptions. You have to consider from a general context. Right? You have to consider from a general point of view. From geographical point of view, from general point of view. Though human beings can construct such kind of thing, but they are exceptions. Clear there? Is it clear? Right? So that's what the answer is, C as an answer. Alright. So that's what in between I will always put across the questions for interaction. Right? Control conditions and are required there. So is it clear this question? I will now remove this from the whiteboard so that I can complete the flow chart. So what is very important thing here? One type of question which you can get in the examination, that may be a direct question about type of ecosystem, whether it is a human constructed, artificial or man-made or naturally occurring ecosystem there. Now let's go back to the flow chart. Now what comes here about the ecosystem concept? What is the next part which comes into ecosystem concept? The next part what comes here, the components, the structure, right? Structure of the ecosystem. If you look at the structural components, right, what makes an ecosystem? The structural components, right? Any kind of a ecosystem, what it is made up of, right? What is the structure of them? So structural component we can divide into two: biotic components and abiotic components, right? Living and non-living. Biotic components you can take here: flora, different type of vegetation and plants; fauna in terms of all animals type there; and also microbes, microbiota, microorganisms which are found in soil, water and all this part. They form the living components. Whereas the non-living components here, that can be physical component, right? Let's say for example, sunlight, light, temperature, right, pH, salinity, etc. Or it can be chemical components, chemical factors. For example, minerals, inorganic minerals, carbon, nitrogen, sulfur found in the soil. Or it can be organic compound, organic materials, right? Organic compound, carbohydrate and proteins, right? DNA, all those kind of compounds can be there. And third can be geological factors. That will include what? So physical, chemical, geological. What will include that? That will include here atmosphere, air, right? Lithosphere, land. And hydrosphere, that is in terms of water. That forms a geographical point of view. That comes into geographical aspect, right? Now what comes here? What is the functions of an ecosystem? Role or functions of ecosystem. What type of role, what type of functions ecosystem has got? So here in this role and functions, the first thing comes here, flow of energy. Now flow of energy in terms of feeding pattern, right? In terms of food or feeding pattern. In terms of food and the feeding pattern. So that is studied under three models are there. Concept of food chain, right? Concept of food web. And then there is a third concept called ecological pyramids. Natural ecosystem helps in the flow of energy, and that happens with the food. And that is studied in ecology by three concepts: food chain, food web, pyramids. Now what is second function? Second function is cycling of materials, cycling of nutrients, carbon, water, sulfur, phosphorus, right? All these kind of nutrients. What we call here as a nutrient cycle. Nutrient cycle, or there is another name called as a biogeochemical cycle. Right? There is another function played by ecosystem. We will be studying about this cycling of nutrients. Now what is third here? Like here, if you look at the two types are there. Gaseous cycles are there, right? For example, carbon. nitrogen, oxygen and water, hydrological. These are called gaseous cycle. Whereas the second type is called sedimentary cycle. Sedimentary cycle. Now sedimentary cycle, you have two of them. Sulfur cycle is a sedimentary cycle. We'll understand in the classroom when I'll come to detailed part of biogeochemical cycle. We'll understand why sulfur is a sedimentary cycle. Although sulfur also exists as sulfur dioxide gas in the atmosphere, which is responsible for acid rain, right? Now what comes here? Third one. Third function is ecological succession. What is ecological succession? Development of a new ecosystem. A barren land becomes a matured forest ecosystem over a long interval of time. Successional development of an ecosystem that comes through a function called ecological succession. Again, that is linked with ecological system there. A land which was barren land where there was no vegetation, no trees and plant, and after 100 years, after 200 years, the same land becomes a thriving forest. That's where the ecological succession comes. Then comes here what? Fourth, in terms of homeostasis. Maintaining the equilibrium. Maintenance of equilibrium and self-regulation. Ecosystem can regulate itself. That's where the homeostasis comes into that. Right? These are the four important functions of an ecosystem. Either flow of energy from food chain, food web pyramid, nutrient cycle of biogeochemical cycle, gaseous cycle or sedimentary cycle, or ecological succession, development of new ecosystem, homeostasis, self-regulation, which can regulate itself. Correct? So what I have done here, first I have given you in terms of the flow chart. So इनको पूरा zoom out करके दिखा दीजिए. Kindly copy this one, and you have any question you can ask me. I have just moved away from the board, right? I have just given you a kind of a summarized kind of thing there, right? Which you need to remember. See, national park is a natural type of ecosystem. Only we mark the boundary using legislation, Wildlife Protection Act, in situ conservation. We make the boundary of the national park or sanctuary by declaring or by notifying in a gazette, official gazette. But that particular habitat is a natural type of habitat. When we are saying artificial means when we do changes, we bring about some kind of land use changes in the forest, bring about some drastic changes, then we can say it is artificial. But natural national park under the Wildlife Protection Act is a natural type of habitat. That interfere means what? Interference, we are not talking about drastic interference. Sweta is saying that there is interference by humans. See, there are local tribes, there are local communities which live in such kind of habitat. Right? We will study ecological succession, don't worry. Ecological succession we are going to study. All these topics, what I have written, all these topics we are going to learn in detail. Here just in the first class, I have given you the kind of what are the functions there. But the detail of each of the things we are going to cover in the classroom. So please don't worry, Lakshya is saying that ecological succession, we will go into detail of that. I am not going to leave that topic, right? Whatever I have written here, food chain, food web, pyramid, right, biogeochemical cycle, then ecological succession, homeostasis, we will be studying all this in detail. Don't worry about that. Homeostasis also we will discuss that. Shraddha is asking a question that homeostasis there. What is homeostasis? I'll tell you. It is again a forest or a grassland or any kind of natural ecosystem. It tries to again maintain the balance. Just take one example. I'll just give you one example. If there is a forest fire, if there's a wildfire or forest fire, or we carry out deforestation, and if we leave it untouched, you'll find after 10 years, 20 years or 50 years, the forest will come back. The regeneration of forest. And that is a natural process. The regeneration of forest, that is a natural process. So that is a kind of self-regulation. There are some kind of natural processes which control its own function. Right? Which control its own function. Now when I say ecosystem maintains homeostasis, cycling of energy or cycling of nutrient, matter or flow of energy in all these areas, there is some kind of a feedback that tries to maintain an equilibrium state. Right? A loss of the forest, and if we don't disturb further, the forest will spring back. Forest will regenerate. Right? Forest will regenerate there. A soil which is depleted of the nutrient. Let's say when you go for excessive farming, too much of farming, and the nutrient of the soil is lost. If we keep that soil or land open and we don't interfere there, because of carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, sulfur cycle, the nutrients will come back. Right? We'll see that one, don't worry. We will come across it. So please copy that. Some people have asked me question, that's what I have gone to that. Please copy the flow chart. इनको पूरा दिखा दीजिए आप. And don't worry, I am going to cover all this: food chain, food web, pyramid, nutrient cycles, right, ecological succession, homeostasis. We will all discuss that. Don't worry about it. Today is the first class. We are going to cover all these topics. And please go through the handout which have been given to you. Please read the handout. The handout has been uploaded in the part of that. So this is not a syllabus. Syllabus also has got the biodiversity, climate change, pollution, EIA. This is just one topic of the syllabus. Here I have written ecosystem. I am here referring to ecosystem. This is just a ecological concept. I am discussing in the classroom ecological concept there. So who is this guy? Mr. Rathod, Shivam Rathod. This is not a syllabus. I told you very clearly in the classroom that there are a lot of things are there, right? So syllabus is not that this flow chart which I have drawn and then I have written the ecosystem and I have just given. This is not the syllabus. The environment syllabus is very vast. There is a climate change, global warming, ozone depletion, pollution topic, EIA, then you have biodiversity, right? It's just the introduction of ecosystem. Good, very good. Abhishek is very right. Abhishek just is a brief introduction of ecosystem. Abhishek, you are correct. This is just a brief introduction of ecosystem. We are going to learn in detail in the classroom there. We will cover that gaseous and sedimentary cycle. We will learn that. When we come to the biogeochemical cycle, I will come to that. Okay, what is the difference between gaseous cycle and sedimentary cycle? I will be discussing that. Gaseous cycle, just remember, where the reserve pool. All these cycles are based on reserve pool. Right? The reserve pool for gaseous cycle is atmosphere and ocean. Whereas the reserve pool of sulfur and phosphorus, sedimentary cycle, is the earth crust. earth crust. Earth crust is the reserve pool of sulfur and phosphorus, whereas the reserve pool of gaseous cycles, that is the carbon, water, nitrogen and oxygen, that is the atmosphere or oceans. We'll see that, we'll study that. Ecosystem is a sum total of living and non-living and the interaction, whereas the environment is just simply the surrounding. Environment, when we use the environment, is just simply the surrounding which consists of living and non-living. But when we are going to study interaction among living organism and the environment, that is the surrounding, non-living factor which help in survival, that scientific study is called as a ecology. And in ecosystem, let's say forest or grassland or ocean, we study that kind of interaction which take place in that particular habitat. That's where the ecosystem comes. All right. So we will end up the class. All of you copied this. All of you have copied this flowchart. This is just the kind of a summary of what we are going to learn in the next class. In the next class, I will be going through all this concept. Our next class topics will be this one, what I have written on the functions of ecosystem. All right. Now you have an assignment question here. So let me give you assignment question. Assignment question is that discuss importance of natural ecosystems The assignment question is that discuss importance of natural ecosystems in terms of discuss importance of natural ecosystems in terms of benefits derived by humans. What is the question here? The question is that discuss importance of natural ecosystems in terms of benefits derived by humans. So you have to answer in 150 words. This question you have to write means question, 150 words and 10 marks question. I repeat the question, homework assignment, discuss importance of natural ecosystems in terms of benefits derived by humans. I will give you that answer when I come to a topic called ecosystem services. When in the classroom we will discuss the benefits what we get from ecosystem. I will be teaching you in that classroom. Respective classes which will come now, the coming classes, we will also discuss about ecosystem services. There you will get the answer of this question. This question what I have given, that answer will come in that part. But again you try it out. You read about it, you try to answer that. It is given in the handout also. Last part of handout, there is ecosystem services. You can follow that and write the answer in 150 words. Importance of natural ecosystems in terms of benefits derived by humans. You will write in 150 words, 10 marks question. Okay guys, today being the first class, so I know that many of you are very new to the subject, and slowly you will get to understand the entire aspect of the environmental ecology. So we'll meet in the next class. And today being the Good Friday, right? Today is Good Friday. So I wish you a very happy Good Friday. And tomorrow is the Easter. So I wish you happy Easter, right? Easter is not considered to be very happy because Easter is linked with the, Jesus Christ, resurrection. The Jesus Christ who was crucified, right? And then again the Jesus Christ came back. Resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's what the Christians worldwide, they celebrate this Easter part. And today is the Good Friday. So I wish you a happy Good Friday. And the Easter, right, on Saturday you have the Easter there. So we'll meet in the next class there. and total number of classes will be 12. I am going to cover the entire syllabus in 12 classes. 1, 2. In 12 classes, Vision IAS provides me 12 classes to cover all the fundamental theory part, the syllabus part. So 12 classes I will be covering the environment and ecology subject. I told you very clearly that all the current aspect, all the current development with respect to environment and ecology, you have to cover from monthly current affairs classes and PT 365, main 365. I don't teach that, right? I don't teach monthly current affairs environment part, and I don't teach the PT 365 and all, that you have to cover from there. I will cover all the basic part of the syllabus, but yes, when I will be discussing certain concept from the syllabus point of view, and there are current development, there's some kind of current linkage is there, I will definitely take you to the current linkage. While my discussion on the particular topic, if there are some current aspect, I'll connect with that. But what I want to convey here in the classroom, that the detailed part of it, or depth, very depth analysis, very detailed, understanding or detailed discussion of newspaper articles or current aspect and all this will not be possible here in this class. So let me be very clear in today's class itself there. Current affairs itself is a very vast area. If I start teaching all the current topics of environment ecology with the theory, it will take something around 50 to 100 classes. Okay. So that is not the possibility here. Vision IAS has very clear-cut division. All current affairs topics in your monthly current affairs classes, PT 365, mains 365. All the theory part, syllabus part, that is in the regular class. So since this is the regular class, this is a regular foundation class for pre-cum mains, PCM. So my effort, my focus will be more to cover from the syllabus point of view. I will be connecting the syllabus with the current aspect, but the entire detail of the current aspect, that you have to cover in the current affairs classes. Is it clear here? Okay. So we'll stop here the class, and we will continue with all the theoretical part in the next class. All right. So thank you everyone. Good night.